Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/Entitled People. Today, we have one more set of great stories for you to enjoy. Here we go. I see your write-up and raise you one corporate message. Let's see who folds first. This all started about a week and a half ago. My husband sent me a screenshot of a new policy his district manager put in place. This new policy stated that each employee on shift was required to collect a certain amount of money for their corporate donation campaign from their customers. The donation campaign was collecting money for a major nonprofit organization that his company partnered with every year. If the employee did not collect the designated amount, then the employee would be written up. After he sent me the screenshot, I advised him that his district manager was most likely breaking their company's corporate policies. See, I've worked in the corporate world as a manager and have a good understanding how basic policies are established. Therefore, I knew right away she wasn't following policy, or at least didn't believe that the corporate office would be okay with this new policy. He decided to see how it would play out because all the other staff were complaining and talking about this new policy, and he wasn't ready to stick his neck out on this issue. Well, that all changed a few days later, because out of the 6 employees who hadn't reached this new policy goal, he was the first one to be given a write-up. Right away, he refused to sign the write-up and advised them to add a note on the write-up stating he would not sign until he talked to the HR department. After he left the office and while on his lunch break, he decided it was time to address the issues. You see, the new policy stated that each employee would receive a write-up after each shift if they didn't collect the stated amount. So if you just started your work week, by the end of that week, unless you collected the correct money each shift, you would essentially be fired, as the write-ups were the standard first, second, third, and final write-ups that almost all corporate companies follow. Now, the husband could have gone through with the threat of calling the HR department and go through the hassle of dealing with them, but let's be honest. How many times has the HR department actually been any help to the little guy, or as I like to call them, the throwaway staff? So instead of reaching out to them, he went to Facebook and looked up the official donation organization that his company was partnering with and left a simple message on their site asking them if they were okay with his company forcing their employees to collect a certain amount of money each shift for their donation campaign. He even went so far as to let them know that because the staff were not collecting enough money for them, that the employees were being written up and could potentially lose their jobs. He left this message on their Facebook page Sunday night and went back to work and completed his shift. Roll around a Monday afternoon and we're both back at work, and I get a message from him telling me that he didn't have to worry about his write-up any longer and he'd let me know what happened when he got home. In the meantime, I'd already looked up all the information for the HR department and was going to be sending them my own email discussing the new policy. But after he told me not to worry, I junked the email I'd started and waited to hear his story. So we're on our way home after work, and he has this huge grin on his face, like he ate the canary. While he was at work, the district manager had called in the morning, and he'd happened to be the one to pick up the phone. She was looking for the supervisor on duty, and he said she sounded very rushed and frantic. All he could tell her was the supervisor was out on a work errand, and he'd have her call back. At this point, he knew something was up. Because, as I mentioned, he sent the message on a Sunday night, and on Monday he noticed that someone from the campaign had read his message that morning. Shortly after the phone call, the district manager shows up and asks to meet with him. They go into their meeting. The first thing the manager does is try to backpedal so hard and fast you'd have thought she was trying out for the Tour de France. She tried to tell him all the staff and all the managers misunderstood her new policy and that staff would only be written up for not asking the customer if they wanted to donate to the organization, not that the staff had to collect a certain amount of money each shift. Of course, the husband asked if that was the case for this new policy, then why his write-up specifically stated it was because not enough money was collected. She, of course, does what all managers are born and trained to do over time, throw the closest person within reach under the bus. It was, of course, the supervisor's fault that the write-up was written incorrectly. As they ended the conversation, she threw in the ever-so-much-loved saying, "Next time, you need to go up the chain of command when you have a concern." After the husband left the office, he checked his phone and received a message back from the donation campaign company. It stated the obvious. Their donation campaign is against this type of practice when trying to collect money. However, the best part was when they stated that they had called the corporate office my husband works for and spoke with them about this new policy and how they were not okay with this and wanted it changed immediately. So the revenge part. All the employees had been keeping track of how much money they'd collected each day for this donation campaign since the beginning, and have a little competition going on for most collected overall. Management is well aware and even encourages this among staff. Well, obviously, the husband has been written up previously for not collecting enough money, so he clearly wasn't in the winning circle. After talking to the district manager, he goes back to work and within 24 hours collected enough donation money from his customers, because he rocks at customer service, that he surpassed everyone else and took the lead in under 24 hours. So now the same district manager who just got her butt handed to her by her boss's boss gets to go into the staff meeting and congratulate him on collecting the most money for the donation campaign in front of everyone, who, by the way, have been talking nonstop about her getting in trouble for her new policy. The cat butt face will be strong with that manager come meeting day. And our next story. Changing a big fat target on my back to my boss being escorted out by security. I was one of two commercial writer/producers working in the production department of a local television station. Our department was responsible for producing both the newscasts and commercials for clients who purchased airtime on our station. The department is high stress. I had to manage multiple deadlines and provide creatives for about a dozen ad campaigns every month. That being said, I always met my deadlines, and our sales department was always complimentary of my work, steering the more important clients my way. Unfortunately, managers in my department came and went with unsettling frequency. In the 9 years I was there, I had 9 different managers. Most often, the managers were passing through with their sights set on snagging upper-level management jobs in larger television markets. This meant their experience actually doing the work of television production was often minimal, so they had a tendency to not interfere with our work so long as clients were happy and deadlines were being met. Given the managers were so disengaged, I told our general sales manager about my idea for saving time and money in the department, and he suggested I apply for the production manager position the next time it opened up. So I did. I didn't get the job. I was told I was too important maintaining good client relationships through my work as a producer. No big deal, I thought. I was happy as a producer. Unfortunately, the person they did hire for the position ended up being a monumental a-hole of the first order. I'll call him Bob. The first thing Bob wanted to know was who in the department had applied for the position he now filled. I don't know what idiot in upper management thought it would be a good idea to tell him, but someone did. It soon became apparent he wanted to find any excuse he could to fire me because that's just the kind of insecure idiot he was. It began by him writing me about the time I was taking to complete commercial production. Then he accused me of undercharging clients in my billing. He wanted me to wear a suit and tie, which he knew I hated. As the writing on the wall became clear, I began documenting every single interaction with him, taking notes about what was said and contradicting his accusations with the facts. All the while, he's managing to upset a whole lot of people in our department, and morale's really begun to tank. Bob was petty, vain, and given to things like announcing how lavish and wonderful a vacation he was planning. He was going to Aruba, so he'd put up travel posters and printed out ridiculous signs he taped to his office door that would say something like, "My island adventure begins in 2 weeks." All this served to remind us he was the only one in our department who made enough money to take that kind of vacation. Eventually, an incident occurred where I missed a deadline through no fault of my own. The client wanted to change up the creative at the last minute, and we had to bump the film shoot. Somehow, Bob got it in his head that I should have been a mind reader and anticipated the client's wishes before they were communicated. He calls me into his office and begins berating and threatening me. I'd had enough. I'm the kind of person who'd take a lot of crap with patience and grace, but when I finally am pushed to my boiling point, I effing explode. I start yelling back, "You're a effing liar, and if you think I don't know how to handle this client, then fine. Let me see you effing do it, because I'm out of here." And I walked off the job. I'm so amped up by what just transpired after leaving the office, I walk all the way home, a distance of more than 6 miles. Just as I'm nearing my house, my cell phone rings. It's Bob. Evidently, it just dawned on him that he would, in fact, have to produce the ad campaign himself because our other producer had the week off. He hemmed and hawed and finally blurted out something that was quite revealing. "If we lose this client, we'll both get fired, and I can't afford to lose another job." Really? So you've been fired from all your other jobs? What a surprise. I tell him to go F himself because I'm not taking his crap for one more minute. All the while, I'm literally trembling with the knowledge I've walked off the job without another job to go to, and I have a wife and 2 kids to support. Thankfully, the next call I get is from the general sales manager. You know, the guy who recommended I apply for Bob's job, resulting in the whole crap storm? By now, news of my blow-up evidently made it back to him. He asked me about what happened, and I fill him in and apologize for walking off the job, while also telling him there's no way I'm working for Bob. He says, "Yup, leaving work wasn't a good idea, so do me a favor and come back. Email me the details of what happened, and I'll see what I can do." Thanks to my copious note-taking of all my interactions with Bob, it takes me no time at all to send him the complete history of Bob's boobery. So I return, hoping to avoid Bob. Thankfully, his door was closed, and I keep my head down in my cubicle. A half hour before quitting time, I noticed our general manager and a security guard getting off the elevator together. I stand up to see where they're headed, and am elated to see it's directly towards Bob's office. What transpires is even better than the revenge options I was contemplating. Bob emerges from his office, carrying a box of his belongings, including the rolled-up Aruba travel poster, and is escorted by the security guard to the escalator. Now standing up in my cubicle, he turns towards me, his face beet red with embarrassment. As our eyes meet, I flash an ear-to-ear grin. The dipstick is done. Congratulations! You officially work for the most insecure man in the world. It's one thing to brag about a luxury vacation. It's another to set up a shrine. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.